Hello, enthusiastically spiritual audience. Today, we're going to share spiritual tip number 10.
10, 10, 10, 10.
10. So in numerology,
10.
what's a 10, Teresa?
Well, a 1 is like starting over because
Yeah,
a 9's completion. So it's like a starting over.
yeah. A 10 is like a beautiful woman that's like perfect.
Oh, it's like Bo Derek.
Yeah, about dinner. That's one definition. Let's work with starting over. So you mentioned something to me. We had an interesting experience on the weekend where uh, we had somebody come up to us recently, and they asked us to do a psychometry reading, and they learned about that from a class that we held
Like 2 years ago.
and they
Yeah.
participated in the class. And in fact, there were times when we'd heard them share, they thought, that person thought, well, I don't know if I believe in this stuff, and seems pretty. But it was interesting how at a function they came up to us and asked to do a psychometry reading. And it struck me then that we had planted a seed. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think this is a really good topic, Tom, as making spirituality practical, because the spiritual part of us is the unseen parts, right? It's our intuition, it's our spiritual helpers, it's things that a lot of us can't see and a lot of people can't see, and a lot of people have a hard time relating to. But in sharing, no matter what ways, well, you know how we share. So we share on the podcast, we share through my book, we share through going to classes or expos and fairs. But however you share out there in the realm of your life and your existence at work or play or family, it makes an impact. And so, yeah, this lady, literally beautiful lady, over 2 years ago, we had, or maybe close to 2 years ago, we had 25 people at this event. We had a great time, a great, master class, and hadn't heard anything from most of them. Right. And then she comes up and just, hey, would you do this? And we're like, whoa, okay. So it is interesting how things are planted in people, and it's okay to, because it's just, it's like planting that seed and then letting it germinate. Right.
Yeah, and I found this with relatives as well, that, there'll be times, especially when, for you spiritual leaders and educators out there, that when you're really excited, usually at first, you found something that's working for you, and, there's that enthusiasm to want to share it with everybody. And over the years, I'd share it with loved ones and family members and so forth. And we've shared about this from different aspects before, but it's amazing to me how, as I've gone through literally decades of, from the time that I first, talked to them about working with their spiritual helpers or their natural psychic abilities and natural intuition and that sort of thing, that they'll come back to me later in life and they'll say things like, remember that stuff you were telling me about, that I have spiritual helpers or angels? I want to find out more about that now. And at the time, years prior, they were probably dead set against it, or, gave me a hard time about it or something like that. So, I guess if you've come to do this work, or you've come to just help share some of this with other folks, take heart in that planting seeds seems to be a reality of the business. And, everybody's got their time, and, you show up to be of service, and, might be next lifetime they do something with it. That's all okay.
Yeah, I
Those are
guess.
some of the thoughts that come to me when you talk about that.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that comes to me too is how, you know, like, especially I'll say social media, right? So I have a pretty good following and a real active group of people and, lovely people on Facebook and on my personal Facebook. So if you want to go there, Teresa Shaw, it's my personal Facebook. I'm always on there doing lives and different things. And a lot of people see things and they don't say anything. So like we even had someone come up to us the other day at the same event who shared with us that she watches this podcast every week, and she doesn't, ever, like or share with us. But that just meant so much to me because of the fact that, people out there are listening, they're seeing, they're experiencing, things that we might be sharing in their way at their timing. And it meant so much to me that to have people, come up and say is with this from the seeds we're planting, that there are people out there who are enjoying, the sharings we do, and the things that that I might share on especially social media.
So what comes to me is that phrase, by the inch, it's a cinch, when referring to spiritual growth. One little step at a time. It doesn't have to be hard. But what does by the inch, it's a cinch mean to you, Teresa?
Well, I'm laughing because as you said that, I saw my inch was like a yard, a yardstick. Like that's a thing that I have to remember too, is that I came in to do this work. This is my passion. This is my of service work. I even wrote in my book that I'm on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers. Like, but not everyone is as hell bent fire, excited, enthusiastic around the spiritual part as I am. So I have to remember that when I'm planting seeds and out and about, or even sharing on this podcast with you all, that there's different variations of how people are accepting, embracing, or being influenced by what I'm sharing. When I'm like, scream at the mountaintop, go up to Everest and say, yeah, everyone, come on, get on board with your spiritual part, because it's super cool.
Yeah. And, the folks that are ready are the ones you want to work with anyway, and
Right.
If somebody isn't sincere or is committed to it, well, we can't really help them that much, So the other word that came to me as you were sharing was the word expectations. So what does expectations have to do with that?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I probably have had too high expectations. So expectation to me is having a feeling that, what's expectation? I'm not going to the definition, but my feeling of it is that um, like being enthusiastic about something, or wanting people to really embrace something that's not what they really want to embrace. Like I know I've had too high expectations on people around me. Like, oh my God, so I get this, so my husband's going to understand this, or the kids are going to get it, when it's like they were like the deer in headlights. Like, what the what is she talking about? So
Well, if you lose your enthusiasm, because we're all about being enthusiastic.
Yep.
And what strikes me is the times that I've lost my enthusiasm is because I had expectations. I had high expectations or different expectations. And then really what that distills down to is that I must have high expectations for myself. And so we live in a society, where we've had that drilled into us. You better have high expectations for yourself and so forth. But, if it comes to, playing basketball, or, your job, or playing the drums, or learning a musical instrument, there's probably having some high standards or high expectations might fit. But when it comes to growing spiritually, I can't really rush it. I'd like to rush it, but you can't. The best I can do is facilitate my growth and others' growth, but I got to take it, kind of a step at a time. But really, most things that we're involved with, it is important to just take things a simple step at a time.
I know, because there's a lot of us out there that, like myself, I'll say, that likes to jump like to the third or fourth step, or the next plateau, when it's like, I can't do that because I'm not ready to
Yeah, and
jump.
they often say, the fun of the trip is, not the destination as much as the travel to get there, or the experience along the way of achieving the goal. And so what does that mean to you, Teresa? We'll start with you and then we can go to me.
Yeah, so enjoying the ride along the way. I'm sure I've experienced a lot of times where I've rushed through things and probably missed gathering the enthusiasm that I had for that moment. I would say a lot of that probably was especially when I had family, because there was so much going on so many different levels of be here, be there, do this, do that. And so that just really revved up my action, right? But yeah, so as far as these days, I try, I've slowed down quite a bit than I used to, but I do try to embrace the present moment and really enjoy what I'm doing. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, me too. And I'm old enough now and I have enough experience that I've lived that. I realize from having arrived at some destinations, like really the fun was in the getting there and organizing myself to get there. So, whenever we start making the end more important than the means from our spiritual perspective, from growing spiritually, then I'm going to miss out, because I just can't. The truth is, I can't rush my spiritual growth. I have to take it a step at a time. And then one of the things that strikes me is, I can't make a religion out of my spiritual growth. Religion to me what that means to me is I have concepts and dogma about this or that and the other. And sometimes those concepts are good in terms of it helps us stay organized as a society. It helps us respect each other's boundaries. But it's important that when it comes to me that I relax, I relax with my expectations, and I'm kind of coming back full circle. So the only way for me to grow naturally and free flowing is through relaxing, taking a moment to go, gee, I noticed yesterday my motivation was low. What's that about? Oh, I'm picking it up on some family members, and boy, it's funny today. I feel different. So I guess and I like to say, oh my God, look at how old you are and you've invested all this. Well, this is my not so positive friends helping me with that, but the not so good friends that, maybe I should know better. Well, there's a concept. I should have known better. Well, if I don't take it a step at a time, by the inch, it's a cinch, I'm going to keep experiencing things until I finally shed those ways that I put stress and pressure on myself.
Yeah. So there's spiritual tip number 10,
Yeah.
planting seeds.
One of my favorite lines is, you're already perfect. You already have your own answers. So I reflect to myself and I say, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, I picked up habits and attitudes in my thinking, or I've accepted certain stresses and thoughts and concepts that really hold me back. And expectations is one of those. We live in our culture, particularly in the US, is all about accomplishment and achievement and hitting that goal. And, but when it comes to me spiritually growing, there can be no competition. However, there is competition here on planet Earth.
Yep, there
and
is.
Expectations, one step at a time. It's good. If you uncover those, it's great. That's good news. Oh, I must have a little expectation there. My enthusiasm's waning. So
there you have it. Yeah. So thank you all for listening into another mini morsel episode of our practically spiritual tip. What do we say?
10, 10, 10, 10.
Making spirituality practical. Tip number 10.
We've arrived. Tip number 10.
We've arrived. We hope you enjoyed this. And hey, we'll see you next week. But until then, just remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.